are back one and all to the Amazon EU Masters. I am joined again by Jamada as we're going to be bringing you to our second game of the day. It is Fnatic Rising of the NLC going up against Illuminar Gaming of the Ultra Liga. It is a pretty big match, all things considered. These guys are going to be hungry for that win. You want to solidify yourself in quarterfinals.
Yeah, particularly Fnatic Rising, because they lost to Illuminar in round one, so having the head-to-head at least be tied up, very, very important for the NLC team. As taking a look at some of their games, I believe this was just their previous matchup. Honestly, I felt like Fnatic were in a very good position to win this game until they flipped. This was probably the Baron that they flipped, actually. Gave Illuminar the lead, and it snowballed very quickly out of control off the back of that amazing encore coming out from Seraphine to lock up Bean. And Bean, key man for Fnatic Rising, has been all split long. If he's alive, Fnatic have a much better chance of winning games they play towards him. That's how it feels like. Is typically their very strong win condition. And Illuminar, all around, very strong team themselves. Just across the board. It's usually how the Polish teams are.
Honestly, the Ultra Liga has just been a fountain of talent for the European circuit in general. You look at any of the major leagues, and hell, even some of the minor ones, they all have Polish players of some way, shape, or form in them. And even looking at the LEC, where, you know, a lot of players, Polish junglers, they are just a thing. They are absolutely cracked and insane. And for the side of Fnatic Rising, it is an opportunity there for them to, as we talked about earlier for Big in their match, they are the final representative for the NLC. They are the final ones for the guys in the Nordics and the UK and Ireland. So this is a big moment for them to really, I suppose, for lack of a better term, go out with a bang before they move off into the Superliga.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, Spanish fans, if you're rooting for your new rivals, you could see you could see 4 teams make it to quarters. I'm just saying. So, you know, maybe a little bit of backing for Daylord and the Gorillas as well, the very common meme for the team. But yes, Fnatic Rising need this win, and Illuminar taking this would be a pretty big step at eliminating, you know, a very strong contender to take one of those 2 spots to make it to quarters.
Yep, of course, we just said Big. They are now 3-1. They are sitting ahead of everybody else. This is an opportunity now for one of these 2 teams to join them in that group alongside that. And for Fnatic, it's been a long tournament, but we do see a little bit of the play-ins buffs. Obviously, Movistar Rider getting the top of their group. We might see that for Fnatic Rising. It does feel like the more time and the more games you get on this patch, the more opportunities you have to figure it out more thoroughly, shall we say.
Yeah, and I actually think that was a very crucial thing for Fnatic Rising in particular, because they lost Febervin at the start of playoffs. They are a very young mid laner to come in, and even with that change, I think a lot of us still expected Fnatic Rising to win the finals, and they ended up getting reverse swept. But in their case, being sent to play-ins, at least to me, it feels like a bit of a blessing, because then that gives you so much additional experience working with Dajor in the mid lane that I feel like it probably helped out a whole bunch moving into groups as we make it into Champ Select. Dajor getting Twisted Fate banned away from him is a very common ban to see against a most played champion so far on Fnatic Rising.
Yeah, definitely something you want to be taking off of the board. It will be Fnatic Rising on the red side, so they will have a potential counter pick towards that mid or top lane should they decide to use it. We are going to see a lot of what we would consider the meta champions getting taken away. The Jace, the Twisted Fate, the Lee Sin, the Camille. Now the Nidalee taken away from MAXI. They do not want him on comfort.
Yeah, no, MAXI looked very, very scary on his Nidalee. It's a bit of a pocket pick for him. Of course, Nidalee has fallen out of the meta for the most part since the start of the season, but pulled it out against Big. And honestly, I can't remember what he ended with, but I remember him being 4-0 Proto Belt very early on, loads of Dark Seal stacks, and the Spears were just chunking out members. It was not very fun for the German side when that Nidalee was that fed. But Varus, speaking of poke champions, will be locked in here for ZAMULEK, so we'll see how Fnatic Rising wants to progress through the draft here. As gonna lock in the Viego away from Chris. It was thorn in the side for Fnatic Rising the last time they matched up here. Chris on that Viego is the only champion he's played so far in the group stage, so gonna have to pick up something new here, as also been picking up that Ezreal. So 2-item spike for him going to be very crucial.
Yeah, and honestly, even just in general, we are seeing obviously the power picks going through. The Varus very, very strong. The Viego being traded for that, and now it's on to Illuminar Gaming to basically decide what they want to take into that matchup, how they want to try and round out this first half. They could go for the supports. Maybe they obviously are going to lock in their jungler. Is going to be that Zhao, who has dropped in priority on this particular patch. So seeing how they're able to make this one work for themselves, and they're going to have a lot of early game aggression.
Yeah, absolutely. You've already got the setup with Varus. Zhao, of course, very, very strong in the early game. Wonder if they're going to pair up the Zhao with a strong laner now in the solo lane. It looks like the answer would be no, they want that. Rakan. It's also a bit of a denial, of course, away from Rhuckz, and just in general, the bot lane matchup. We spoke about it last draft, actually. Having to deal with Ezreal plus Rakan, so much mobility, it just becomes a bit of a nuisance if you don't have a lot of immediate hard CC to stop them from dotting about. But how will Fnatic respond now? Because if they want, Rhuckz can lock in that Leona or the Nautilus, or just a counter matchup of his choice, but also locking in something like the Ryze, a very strong, powerful pick for the Yor. Pretty good option, and that's what they're going to go for.
Honestly, I do love this. You're giving yourself now, as I was just about to say, banning away things that can do well into it. You're banning away a lot of different matchups that would either be doing well into the Ryze or just considered safe into it. The Orianna, fantastic at wave clearing. Great to get that one off the board. And Illuminar, they're going to say, cool, you want to go with your mid laner? We're going to make sure our bot lane has the priority.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wouldn't be surprised to see potentially a Seraphine ban come out. Escik has loved this champion alongside the Orianna, and you've already got the likes of these Zins out there to buff up, and on top of that, just getting something like the Rakan engage with this Encore over the top and then a Zhao jumping in. I think if you're looking at two mid lane bans, that'll definitely be the one, and that will be what Fnatic Ryze go for. And we spoke about the Nautilus ban as well. I think, honestly, any other support as well that they don't really feel like allowing Rhuckz to play on definitely be a very strong option, but I think with Fnatic Ryze lacking a little bit of hard engage, that Nautilus will probably be up there for me as that Illuminar second ban.
Yeah, we did see exactly what they want to go for here. Of course, we do expect Fnatic Ryze to... Oh, actually, the Braum being blocked away. So we do expect Fnatic Ryze now to pick up their support and leave that counter pick to either the top or jungle. Viego still technically a flex, can go towards both if you want to go for it. And they're going to lock in the Alistar. So again, good disengage, but also good engage opportunities here for Fnatic.
Yeah, absolutely. I think having the Alistar to disengage, very powerful tool. And if they're expecting Illuminar to mostly aggress onto them, of course, adds that little bit of versatility. You're not looking in sort of a one-way track support where they can only really do one thing. Alistar, of course, very happy to do either. As looking at solo lane picks here for the mid lane, looks like we're just going to get an Azir lock-in. All right, very interesting. We don't see too much Azir very often, but we will see it come out of Escik here. And now, final pick for LeQu. Camille banned away, something that he does very much like, but of course still does have other sort of side laney options if he wants to go for him. Things like the Gnar could be definitely good for him if he wants to lean onto that, and it will be that Gnar.
I was just about to say, you're looking for someone to kind of jump in with the Zhao and the Rakan. You need a dive buddy as such. You're going for a very standard front-to-back team fight here for Illuminar Gaming, but it pretty much leaves an open counter here for Fnatic Ryze for Pride, and he's looking at the Kennen, and the Electric Rat will be locked and loaded. So big AoE team fight ultimate that can turn the fight if Fnatic Ryze can find the opportunity.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of massive Kennen ultimates basically change or end games outright so far at the tournament, and Pride's going to be piloting that one. I think he's going to have to be a little bit sort of careful. You know, there's a lot of knockback here from Illuminar, whether it's Zhao, whether it's the Azir wall, even the Gnar can be used defensively if it has to be chain to corruption. So Pride's going to really have to pick and choose his moments. He's going to have to particularly, I think, use Fog of War to his advantage, because if he comes at a frontal angle, he's probably going to get shut down. Or if he comes on vision, comes at an angle from vision, he's probably going to be shut down. But if he can make it into the backline, Azir and Varus can very easily get blown up by this bit.
I was just about to say, the Azir, the Varus, if you're jumped on top of, you're very squishy in those early stages, and you don't really have a great amount of escape. Yes, you have the shifting stance with the Azir, but the Varus, very reliant on that flash or even just the kiting from the rest of his team. And for Illuminar Gaming, they have a very defined plan. They want to have Varus and Azir on the backside while the rest of the team go forward. But for Fnatic Ryze, they're looking for flanks. They're looking for creative paths here to try and start off those big team fights.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, one added bonus to the Kennen is if it is Illuminar that decide to move forward as a unit, even if the Azir tries to get in and get a shuffle, having the Kennen on top of your team as Fnatic Ryze isn't too bad, because then as Illuminar, you're diving into Slicing Maelstrom too. So a lot of versatility in that pick in that regard as well. So quite smart overall, but again, if he wants to get aggressive, got to pick those moments. But I think across the board, both teams, a lot of strong, defined, strong and weak points to play towards in the early stages.
Yeah, and honestly, I think the big thing we're going to have to keep an eye on is with that Slicing Maelstrom and, of course, the Emperor's Divide, how does that interaction work out? If you get pushed back while you're in the middle of Slicing Maelstrom, Pride's not going to have a fun time, and the Azir is going to absolutely run amok. We will wait no longer. We will question no longer, as we're going to be jumping onto the Rift for our second game of the day. Both teams on 2-1. A win here would be pivotal to trying to get yourself back up towards those top two spots. Fnatic Ryze playing for the NLC, and of course Illuminar Gaming playing for the Ultra Liga. A lot of pride here, a lot of different players looking to be the next stars of the LEC. And Jamada, where are you expecting the first action to really happen?
Yeah, I think if you're looking towards Illuminar on the blue side, we'll pick them up first. I think you should have a fair amount of priority in the mid lane, bottom side as well. I think you can probably find some there. So I'm looking at Chris probably pathing top to bot, likely to leave the Gnar lane alone for a little bit, as looks like he's dropped toward wall reset. So I'm expecting probably bottom side Skull would be my best guess, though. Chris, honestly, depending on how the top side plays out, he could have priority on both sides of the map. So pick the little, but it looks like he will path towards that top side. And as for MAXI and Fnatic Rising, I think probably mid lane best bet for the opening stages. If you can get that Rune Prison down onto the Azir, stops him from using that Shifting Sands or the Mobility, and can very easily be followed up by that Spectral Maw. And Ryze and Viego, even at the early stages, can definitely 100-0 in Azir.
No question about that whatsoever, as we are going to see both the blue buffs being started here by either jungler. Both teams now back into their lanes, and I like to see this from the spot lanes, both bot lanes to be perfectly honest. You're going with the longsword into the pots. It basically means you know you're not going to be skirmishing that heavily. You know there's not going to really be a kill threat unless you make a really big positional error. So both sides opting into having themselves a little bit of an easier time getting towards those first mythics or even their first items, rather than taking the safety, if you will, of a Doran's item.
Yeah, and I feel like in general, Doran's Blade, I don't want to call it weak, but when you're comparing it at, like, you know, 3 pots, 450 HP, and then just having the additional bit of AD, you think about it like this, Doran's Blade on the Vamp only really starts to, you only really start to notice it once you hit that about 100 AD threshold, where you would be getting about 3 HP per war attack on creeps, for example. So it kind of just feels bad, and like you say, fast track to the Mythics is just such a powerful thing for so many champions. It's why you see it so commonly these days for quite a few AD carries.
You just see a pretty decent trade there up on top side for Pride, as we see now both junglers respectfully on the red buffs. They're going to shake hands, give each other a scuttle each, and be on their merry ways. And looking at these two teams and looking at how they want to try and interact, it does feel like any sort of interactions in the early games will depend on these two junglers. So probably not going to see a lot of action until those level 6 marks have been hit.
Yeah, I will say keep our eyes on the bottom side from Charm, though, because I'm expecting ZAMULEK and himself should be keeping priority into an Alistar Ezreal for quite a while. And like we just said, it means he's got freedom to move up like this.
Yeah, he has to flash. That was guaranteed with the two junglers, if you will, from Illuminar Gaming coming in, trying to make sure they had to go for it. It's an instant flash away, and actually there's probably going to be a double scuttle as well here for Chris.
Yeah, I mean, MAXI kind of greeded out on the pathing, went for the complete full clear. Going for the Rhuckz first meant that not going to be on top of Scuttle when it spawns, and that should just be double Skull for Chris instead, so he's not really going to be missing out on much, and he's got a bot side camps to retreat to. I will say Fnatic Rising do have priority here, but you can see Rhuckz recalling Bean as soon as he gets this wave crashed on the tower, likely to reset too. And with Charm still paired up with Chris, it's just going to be his Skull Crab as well.
We'll say that Charm is losing out on a bit of XP in that bot side, but you'll take it if you're ZAMULEK. He knows that he has himself a nice little opportunity. Tries to go in and looking for the smite. That wasn't worth MAXI. That was not worth it all.
It's the jungler syndrome. You know, it's a pride thing. It's an ego thing. I don't want to get double skulled.
No, pride's on top.
That's true. I apologize. My bad. But you know, if you're a jungler, you've been there. You lose out Scuttle for one way or another. You don't want to lose both of them, but Chris will get that, and it's going to send him quite far ahead because again, he's got those bottom side camps to retreat to as well, and top side camps spawning now. So once he resets, he's going to have those two fall onto if he wants to, or of course can get back out onto the map, find a gank first, and then retreat back to his jungle camps yet again.
And honestly, I love this from Charm. He just went off. There was no kill pressure on top of him, so he just went, cool. I know the Varus is safe against this Alistar Ezreal, so I'm going to burn 2 flashes, the junglers and the mid laners of Fnatic Risings, giving great advantages here to Illuminar Gaming, and something, opportunities or windows, if you will, for them to maybe re-gank or find another, you know, kill or something more.
Yeah, and that's always the nice thing about laning into most Ezreal lanes. It's like Ezreal before Sheen really is where like he at the very least deals a little bit of damage, and of course before the first item you can usually leave your AD carry in an Ezreal lane regardless of what the support matchup is as well, and just go roam somewhere, and like you say, so much value. 2 flashes and ZAMULEK almost at level 5, so much solo XP. And Charm didn't really fall too far behind for it. In fact, he's still up in XP on Rhuckz.
Yeah, was able to leech a little bit off of that mid lane, was able to get something going from there. Pride still doing very well in this top side matchup. Chris hasn't been able to make much of a impact up there, but with the Scuttle spawning that top side, we might see both junglers contest for that. And with level 6 is starting to be picked up here by both sides, you start to see the Emperor's Divide, the Realm Warp, even the Slicing Maelstrom. This is where things get a little bit spicier now for this top half of the map.
Yeah, and look at mid lane straight away. As soon as the Azir has access to that ultimate, support on the bottom side. It's a pincer yet again. Chris on the top side.
Oh,
okay.
Not quite, but the threat is there.
Yeah, I mean, if he connects the stun, LeQu probably dead. And here you go, Emperor's Divide into the jungler.
That's as easy as it is. They know there's no flash. They know there's no way out. First blood going over to Illuminar. Very, very nicely done.
Great execution. You blew the flash. Charm returns again with the jungler to secure the first blood. And it looks like they're potentially trying to transfer this into a straight-up dragon. Beam just reset, so gonna have the numbers down there as Pride. Nice stun.
Needs to be a little careful though. He has no Slicing Maelstrom. He may be forced to flash. He is. I don't think you can get away from this though. And oh, it's a disaster here for Fnatic Rising, but fantastic for Luminar Gaming. They're getting everything.
Yeah, absolutely everything across the map. I think for Pride, only way he gets out of that FSC flashes away maybe whilst that stun is down, but big ifs there as mid lane return gank as soon as the Azir hits level 6. You just see Chris and Charm immediately beeline it to the mid lane. Great little bit of execution as let's take a look at how exactly this 1v1 happens. It's just Pride looking for a reset, I guess.
Stat diff, he just checked him and said, I can kill you, I can kill you, you can't kill me. Where's your Slicing Maelstrom, Pride? Yeah. Not here, and there's your flash there too. So honestly, that was just really disrespectful from Pride going into that. He should have recognized that with the Mega Gnar up and available, he just can't take that fight, just back away. Yeah,
absolutely. And pays for it with his life. So see if it affects the top lane matchup even more. That solo kill. As Illuminar picked up the dragon off the back of that, it was an Inferno, and Mountain will be the second one. So Ocean or the Cloud is what we'll be looking at in around 5 to sort of 8-ish minutes time, depending on how fast you see that next dragon takedown.
I want a speed run. That's what I want. I want a speed run of dragons. That'd be a cool little objective, like in a competitive game, how fast you could take the Dragon Soul while having someone try and stop you. That's. I wonder what is the quickest time to see the Dragon Soul.
There's probably been a couple of like 21-minute.
Oh, definitely. I wonder if anyone's ever gotten a sub 21-minute. You know?
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to be taking the dragon on spawn every time, just removing it off the ring. Doesn't even get to. You know that first roar when a dragon spawns, it doesn't even get to do that, it just dies.
Yeah, it's like, whoop, blink and it's gone. You'd have the 5-man commit to it as well. It's a curious one. I might look into it there on the break before we get into our next one. Let's just wait to see now what way they want to do it now on the map as the rest of Illuminar moving up towards this Rift Herald. They've already taken the dragon. Why not take the next objective? You have total control, and honestly, Fnatic Rising seem a little bit asleep. I'm being totally honest.
Yeah,
they just don't seem to be doing anything.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you. I think part of it, symptom of the draft, you've got Ryze, you've got Ezreal, you've got these 2 tier stacking champions, and of course the Kennen doesn't really want to fight until 1 item. But that being said, it's not like Illuminar necessarily don't want to wait for item spikes either, but I mean, it looks like Fnatic, they're poising for a fight, and Rhuckz might have found his way into a flank, but I'm seeing a lot of pings from Illuminar, so they're expecting this.
Look at the mini-map though, you have Bean coming in as well, so this will be a 5v4 at best for the side of Illuminar. They recognize that, they back themselves up. You've committed to the Rift Herald now for Fnatic Rising. They finally get themselves some coffee and start to make some moves around this map, but with the Mega Gnar still not been available, you have to respect this, and Bean is still around, so this would be a 5v4 like we mentioned. He's still not quite just there yet, as the Dragon, or the Rift Herald down to 2000 HP. They're gonna back away. They got it. They know there's no worries. They got it. Fnatic Rising just gonna be paid, have to give a little bit more free time to that bot side. Illuminar not looking for the fight.
Yeah, a lot of patience there from Fnatic Rising. Bit of a standoff for the Herald, but won't lose anything too drastic. ZAMULEK did get a plate on the bottom side, and waves will be missed by Bean, but the CS difference isn't anything too crazy, so you won't be feeling too sore about it, as it's 320 gold at the bare minimum locked in that Herald, so See how they decide to use it.
If
My
used.
expectation, if used, yes, of course.
I
Of
have
course.
seen far too many games where someone's just like in base going, oh god, I have this and it's just about to expire. I need to use it. And it just goes absolutely nothing.
Like your solo queue games, you know, your jungler's got it, he bases when it's got 15 seconds left, and he's like, oh god, pings it, 10 seconds. All right, well.
Yeah, it's like, whoop.
Drop it on the fountain, see what lane it goes to.
Yeah, and again, like, yes, you got the Rift Herald. It is a potential to get something snowballing for you. If you get a kill, you can turn it into a tower, maybe 2 towers, of course, in that tier 2, regardless of where you go with it. But a lot of free time for ZAMULEK in that bot side. He got a lot of free gold. He got himself pretty much uncontested throughout a bit, was able to bring himself back up into a CS lead and that plate as well. So you can see just a little bit of a trade-off here. So the side of Fnatic Rising, they need to make that worth, and it looks like they're going to try and make it worth now. You've got Kennen in base with TP. They're going to look for it. There's a nice little bit of pepper damage. They're going to use the Realm Orb straight away. They're going to try and jump straight on top of it straight away. They're going to jump straight on top of this Varus and try and take him down. They get 1. They cannot get 2 just yet. The TP from the Kennen behind the minions behind the tower, and they're caught. There's nowhere for you to go. The Emperor's Divide is good, but the Slicing Maelstrom is better. 2 kills, but they traded it back. It's now a 2-for-1, 3-for-1 trade in favor of Fnatic Rising. They will not get the Rift Herald drop just yet.
Yeah, not just yet. With LeQu and Chris there, they feel like it's maybe not worth using it right now, especially Dragon coming up very shortly. Get the replay here. MAXI and Rhuckz on the blast cone. Ryze ultimate to get down here to the bottom side. Nice of XCharm to, at the very least, stop the immediate route coming in from Dajor, but it just quite frankly doesn't matter. Too many numbers too quickly, and I feel like Fnatic, if they wanted to, maybe could have committed for XCharm a little harder as a unit, maybe something like cooldowns in unison. Rhuckz still had the ultimate ticking, the towers and Slicing Maelstrom enough to block XCharm, and Escik nowhere else to go, flashes into it. Does get the trade 1-for-1, or 1-for-3 rather.
I was going to say,
down the pride.
Not quite 1-for-1. The Dragon didn't go, yeah, not quite. But I will say for Fnatic Rising, with that bot lane pressure they were able to get, they get themselves a Dragon as well. So they've equaled that one out. We're going to have ourselves a Cloud Rifts. So lots of AoE ultimates. And oh, they're going again. ZAMULEK, you have no flash, you have no heal, you have nowhere to go. Bing, bang, bosh, Bean is getting himself a kill.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you want to see if you're rooting for Fnatic to pick up the win here. Bean picking up a kill. Already had 3 assists to his name off all the plays going on around him, but finally picks up an actual kill credit for himself, and that's just going to push him a little bit further towards that Divine Sunderer or Triforce plus Muramana stack up. As ZAMULEK, I believe, actually had the Eclipse already with that tier going as well. So the Fally will be the choice here, as Rhuckz may have just checked a little bit too far. Does have ultimate though.
Does have ult, does have a headbutt as well, and the rest of his team. So Fnatic Rising very much in the vicinity to help him out as we now move up towards the 13-minute mark. Pretty even game, actually only about 400 gold in favor of Fnatic Rising. They still have a Rift Herald, which is actually going to expire, and they need to start finding a lane that they want to use. It looks like mid lane is going to be the port of call as they try to just get everyone there to force this plate move in.
Yeah, and I feel like Illuminar have to know this is probably going to be coming. Like, where's the Herald? It's not been dropped yet. Shows up in the mid lane now. And should actually be 3 plates because that tower still sat on 5. I don't think Illuminar are going to be able to interrupt this, but it looks like he'll all go onto MAXI individually, so wasn't able to put it onto the scaling members of Dajor or Bean. So maybe not the most, you know, optimal for what they're maybe wanting, but MAXI already got the Divine Sunderer very strong, so probably not going to be too upset about picking up even more gold.
No, not going to be upset about it, but ZAMULEK did get 2 plates in that bot side. We see good trading here from Bean, and ZAMULEK still has no flash or heal, so they need to try and just keep this one away. You can see there is the Chain of Corruption going down. They have to use both ultimates defensively. ZAMULEK just playing too far up the lane.
Yeah, definitely playing a little bit too far up the lane, but also very well played, I guess, from Illuminar on the retreat. Just chucking everything they can at Rhuckz to make sure the combo can't come down, and now MAXI jumped onto by Chris, but just going to wave at each other in the bush and walk away.
Nicely done there. So from the top side of Fnatic Rising, they get themselves some information. They know exactly what's going on. Dajor just going to see if he can maybe catch out this Azir. One little move forward, he should be able to find him. Oh, just gets himself over the wall with the shifting sands. And now MAXI going to be poked out a little bit there just as he walks away. But again, good moves from Fnatic Rising. They finally woken themselves up. But moving forward in this game, we're seeing the Mythicon has been picked up. What do you want to see from Illuminar? Where do you want to see them looking to try and get themselves back into control of this game?
Oh, it's a bit of a tough question. I feel maybe you've already got 2 kills onto LeQu. You maybe work around him here. Chuck some numbers towards him. Seems like Fnatic very committed to forcing resources into the bottom side, so maybe you kind of dump the idea of trying to respond to the plays, and you just kind of cross map it and try and trade evenly. Let the Azir get to that 2 iron mark, try and get ZAMULEK comfortably over the mark of 2 irons. Finishing up that mirror mana going to be very big, and then you just start to work around the poke of him, the poke of the Azir as well, around some of these neutrals. But Bean as well going to have some poke of his own to respond with, so it's not necessarily all even in that sense. But that's where I'm looking at for Illuminar. I feel like probably try and play towards this Gnar. Zhao also very strong on that God Drinker spike as well. He might be down on components to Maxi, but this champion very, very bonkers. Still very loaded in damage, despite the nerfs.
And the Azir does not have TP. You can't go for this Rift Herald right now if you're Illuminar Gaming. You don't have your mid laner who has that big Luden's Tempest to put down that burst damage, so you have to give up pressure around this. Honestly, I feel like right now Fnatic Ryze going to be taking their second Rift Herald of the game, going to be probably using that to crack out mid, and this is just Illuminar now losing out on the tempo, not really making the correct calls in my opinion with the men they have around the map.
Yeah, I suppose so. You do have to kind of counter-argue it and say, you know, Azir's going to get a free tower on the bottom side to himself. So the gold, in a way, kind of traded out. And it's the first tower of the game, so it's actually bonus gold, 450. That second herald, unless it's charging onto a side lane tier 2, isn't necessarily going to hold as much value, but that mid lane tier 1 of Illuminar's is quite low. So if Fnatic want to, on a button press, can remove that tower off the map. See if they feel like doing it as Maxi. It's making its way to the mid lane. There's numbers here for Fnatic Rising. So I'd expect that to be the case, and Herald goes over the wall. I feel like they will go and try and play towards this dragon now after they get this wave tower down.
Yep, one bash from Shelly's head, and that's going to be a pretty easy first turret for Fnatic Rising. They get the mid lane open, so now they can move back down towards this dragon, pick up that objective, and they are slowly eking out a little bit of a gold lead, about 1,000 gold now in their favor. They are pretty much owning the bottom half of this match, and you can see right now with Rhuckz and MAXI just walking around together, there's a very, very real threat now for the side of Illuminar where they have to respect the all-in potential and the global presence with this double TP mid and top.
Yeah, definitely. Just so many games where you feel like you're safe, you can make a play, all of a sudden double TPs come down. Double TP is so threatening. So both teams really, you say just one, both gonna have to pay their respects to the globals. Of course, Fnatic a little more threatening just because the Realm Warp, if in the vicinity, faster channel time can bring multiple members. Illuminar's still okay though, I feel like, in this game state, even though they are 1,000 gold down or so. I think when you're talking about the conditions of, you know, those big team fights where the Gnar finds a massive armor into the wall on some carries, or the Azir finds a good shuffle, a lot of poke from ZAMULEK, it can all come together. But Fnatic Rising, they're approaching their item spikes slowly but surely. And Dajor on the rise already had a fantastic performance. Dajor in general, actually, since he joined Fnatic Rising, doing very well, especially you consider I've been playing competitive for too long, I believe only around a year or so. Be a little bit longer than that. I'll have to double check, but he's not been in the competitive scene for a very long time, and stepping into Featherman's shoes, I feel like he's been doing a pretty good job considering the size of those shoes to fill.
Yeah, honestly, this is his first team, according to the the contract database. It's the first team he was able to kind of go to. This is a really young rising star that could end up being a big player in the future. As we look towards this mid lane, they are going to find ZAMULEK caught on his own, no support. While that's happening, bot side, they flash forward. They do find themselves locking up this Azir, but not quite able to bring the Heartbreaker down. He will end up getting out nicely, just away from that gank from the top bottom side. But mid lane's being pushed in. Bot lane's being pushed in. Yes, you get a turn in the top, but Fnatic Rising, they're picking up the gears. They're picking up the pace a little bit.
Yeah, they're hungry, Fnatic Rising. They're looking to make the plays. They find the mid lane play onto the Varus. They almost find Escik on the Azir as well. Real nice flash aggressiveness from the Dajor to try and find the chain CC. Isn't quite able to. And now Chris hunting for B, and then the teleport even coming down.
Wow, I don't think you can catch them. This is a bit of a really hard commit now for Illuminar. They're looking for it. That's an Azir. That's not a Gnar, so you're not exactly tanky. And Bean has the Realm Warp. He's got himself that was just a big committal for very little here for Illuminar.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like maybe the idea is, Dajor's not there anymore. He's reset. Didn't stick around. Maybe felt like they didn't actually quite catch the teleport coming in, but it happened on a control ward. Fnatic Rising would have seen it on the minimap, fully aware, and that gives Dajor all the information to stick around Getting this carry out, and now LeQu.
Yeah, you've not got yourself a team to jump back on top of you. You've no teleport. He's forced to flash away. No Gnar just yet. They will not get the stun down. But Fnatic Rising now burning the flash off the Gnar. We're not going to see that ultimate used very well in the near future. We're not going to see them be able to make any moves on Illuminar. They took their step off the gas. They just weren't really able to find anything in this mid game. It's very much slowed down. And Fnatic Rising are starting to pick up the pace, really starting to punish a lot of these very poor rotations from Illuminar.
Yeah, just briefly kind of falling asleep at the wheel, it feels like, for Illuminar. Fnatic Rising doing exactly what they have to be doing when they see these opportunities presented to themselves. And definitely feels very nice to see Fnatic Rising playing this kind of punishing style. Had a very up and down year in general. It's been a bit of a breath of fresh air, this Amazon European Masters, to actually see them be a little more proactive, particularly in that mid game.
Yeah, they are pushing for a little bit more activity, as you say, and they've got the items and the abilities to do it. With that Zhonya's picked up for Pride now, you're going to be able to be a little bit more aggressive, maybe look to try and get on top of someone immediately and just pop that one, keep yourself alive. Of course, we are seeing the Everfrost picked up here by Dajor. So a lot of, and even the Shurelya's Revelry, so not going with the Luck of the Iron Solari here for Rhuckz, going towards that big engage tool that can get people in or out depending on the circumstances.
Yeah, I think it makes sense when you're trying to get members away from things like the Rakan engages, or trying to get yourself in. Very strong ultimate to use, or item rather active to use.
Feels like an ultimate, it's that powerful.
It does, honestly, sometimes. If you remember the mid-split Shurelya's, where I think the numbers are something stupid, where it was like 80% movement speed decaying.
Yeah,
I think they've definitely nerfed the numbers down now.
Blink at that point. It was just like, and we're here. Well, speaking of that, now we're here on the top side, and Azir again having the flash away. They're going to commit the teleport, and that's all it's going to be for the moment. Teleport coming in from the Kennen. This is a bit of a split fight. You can see Dajor not quite here with it. The Kennen is there, going to be straight away. Nothing they can do, but again, Illuminar cannot get the damage. They cannot find the people. It's a 2-for-2 trade, and Bean is free firing. He's looking for so much more. He's looking for so much more damage. Gets himself on top of the AD carry of Illuminar, and they can maybe turn and burn now for this Baron, excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, 22 minutes into the game, the big purple worm is up on the map. Fnatic Rising, they find a fight in front of it, and it wasn't even really them trying to engage per se. You know, they find a nice little combo walking out, and Illuminar just decides to pull the trigger, like, okay, bring in the Gnar, bring in everybody, bring the reinforcements. Fnatic Rising just kind of stand up to them and more than take the fight, and that's going to be Baron in their back pocket now as a really big gold lead to be working with. Illuminar consolation prize of the Cloud Dragon, but you see, Escik blows. Okay, never mind. Fnatic Rising actually pulled the trigger on the teleport. I didn't see that on the top side. I thought they all was actually just there. But they try and turn onto Alistar with ultimate, which doesn't really make a whole bunch of sense. And despite Pride being blown up, it doesn't really matter because Bean gets to free hit Chris, also gets to free hit the Gnar, and effectively the front line then from Illuminar is gone. It just means the remainder of Fnatic Rising, and in particular Bean, shift forward, throw in the Mystic shots, take out ZAMULEK, and with all of those members down, set up for a free Baron. Coincidence of where the fight happened.
Yeah, honestly, great moves here for Fnatic Rising. Illuminar just getting caught out, trying to make something work, reactionary play, but it is Fnatic Rising being proactive, finding opportunities. Now have themselves a 4,000 gold lead. They've got Baron buff. It's 2 dragons apiece, so no one's really anywhere near Soul. And at 24 minutes into the game, it's Fnatic Rising sieging down these turrets. As I say, that Dajor might be, actually never let, just kill that Might, is in trouble and gets himself solo killed by the Gnar. But when you've committed 2 people down bot side, that's 2 turrets, so a kill for 2 turrets, I think that's kind of worth for Fnatic.
Yep, still happy to take that. I mean, the Baron power play says it all. Still 2.5k up on the trade. Get a replay here. I imagine it was just maybe off a fog, off the control ward. Yeah, kind of, I guess. Leap range. Plus the stun, yeah. Just about gets in range. Finds the stun by the skin of his teeth as well. Dajor just oversteps a tad. Wasn't expecting Gnar to be hopping out of fog like that. And it's a nice pick, slows down the Baron a little bit, but like you said, 2 towers are still traded immediately. And Fnatic, once they're back out onto the map, they're still going to have around 60 seconds to work with off this Baron. But the waves, taking a look at the map itself, aren't really in a great spot. So this Baron might actually kind of be a dud already. Might have a wave to work with in the mid lane at best.
Yeah, I was going to say they're going to be able to maybe push this one in. They have a minute left on it, but it looks like they're going to go for that final outer turret in the bot side. Should be able to get at least a wave onto it. So don't really see Illuminar going for a contest on this. They are still waiting for teleports from the Gnar, so you're not going to get any crazy flanks coming out just yet. And with the Azir on the top side, not really in a position to contest. So all of the outer turrets will be falling here in favor of Fnatic Rising. They will now push back Illuminar right back into their base in terms of defense. And this is where vision control, that fog of war, becomes very, very scary for Illuminar, because you have to push forward not knowing where everybody is. And actually, they've committed 5 members to this bot side, and that means that the mid lane's a little bit under siege, sadly, for Fnatic Rising. The one member who was pushing it forward does not have the Baron. They're going to jump now on top of this Alistar, try and burn him down. But again, it's an Alistar with ultimate. He's not going to go down that easily, so not able to pick him up just yet. Chain of Corruption comes down. They're going to jump straight on top of Pride, who gets deleted once more, twice in a row. He has been at the wrong place, the wrong time, and Fnatic Rising will have to back away.
Yeah, Pride just deleted. Chains of Corruption, good aim from ZAMULEK there. At least pull something back for Illuminar as Dajor takes the Realm Warp Taxi out of the base. Minions are actually going to come back to the lane as well. It's funny. Quite cute. Oh, no.
Go for it.
Tower.
Go for it, George.
No.
Yes, you can do it. Yes.
No.
Yes. 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 Go on, my son.
Are you kidding?
Why you have to dot your I's and cross your T's. Dajor flashes away from Chris, flashing on top of him. He's still in a hell of a lot of trouble. No real support just yet. You can stay in disbelief as everyone from Illuminar just ends up disengaging. Fnatic Rising getting the best present of all from the Winions, as they now find themselves going on top of Illuminar's Chris, as he's a little bit overextended. They drop the Streamer's Legacy and the ultimate as well to try and disengage, but Illuminar so unlucky.
I'm still dumbfounded, I'll be honest. It's just a funny situation. And Fnatic Rising reaping the benefits fully. You don't even lose Dajor on the exit out. He does have to blow his flash, but I mean, it's 1-for-1. Chris also loses his. Will make him a vulnerable target. But working towards that, Zhonya's already has the stopwatch in his inventory, so Dajor should still be relatively safe, all things considered. Pride definitely has to watch his positioning, though. 2 times back-to-back, kind of caught out, blown up. Not really able to add anything. MAXI, he's a bit of trouble here.
Yeah, Flash and Heartbreaker probably going to have to be used here. Gets charmed up, knocked up, and goes straight into the Zhonya stasis. Now Chris taking a bit of a beating here from the Ryze, but the Viego is dead. Flash forward, a slicing Maelstrom. That's why Pride had to be focused. Triple kill going over to Fnatic's Pride. Quadra kill for Pride, and they're hunting. They smell it. They know they can maybe go for the Penta, but never mind. They don't need the Penta kill. They're going to try and end the game.
I mean, I just said he's gonna watch his positioning, and I mean, you found a pretty damn good position there for that flank. Quadra kill on the Kennen. It doesn't matter if you get blown up 2 or 3 times back to back. If you find the game-winning fight, Rhuckz might give over his life here, but quite frankly, doesn't matter. Fnatic Rising should be closing out the game here. Teleport should just about come in, but LeQu, back to the fountain, and it's a delayed penta.
Delayed pentakill. Pride will give it to you as he goes golden straight away. Charm has to follow suit as they both go into the stasis. The Rakan shall not live no longer. Fnatic Rising going to be able to take the win over Illuminar Gaming, equal out the tiebreaker between the 2 teams, and put themselves alongside Big at 3-1.
And that's the crucial thing, right? Not just that they're 3-1, but the head-to-head with Illuminar is now even. So if they kind of have a shaky or poor day, they can at the very least still potentially, you know, force a tiebreaker out with Illuminar. So very important and much needed win for them, and is a very strong looking win too. A lot more, I feel, decisive comparatively to their round 1 and even their domestic play for Fnatic Rising. Just that little bit step up. But for Illuminar, definitely felt a bit weird. They sort of sat a little more on their hands than I suppose I'm used to, but that is kind of the perceived style of play for the Polish teams at the moment. They will kind of sit back, try and play a slow game. And I think in this meta, especially with, there's quite a few fast teams here at the tournament, it can be very difficult to do that.
Yeah, honestly, a great way to end the game as well. You can see they may have been able to go for the win or go for the Penta, but they wanted to go for the win in the end. We're going to throw it to a break, and when we return, we'll break down that game just a little bit more. We'll see you soon.
He's going to flash in, and he steals the Baron! How does that connect by Edgeway?
Fini! As EU Masters Champions!
We are back, everyone, to the Amazon EU Masters. We have just seen Fnatic Rising taking down Illuminar Gaming, getting themselves up to 3-1. Jamada, it was close until it wasn't. It just randomly ended out of nowhere. And I have to say, our boy George, the Kennen minion, he had a big part to play.
Yeah, the sick member for Fnatic Rising, honestly. Yeah, Fnatic Rising, really strong play, very proactive play, crucially. And they have been playing like this for the most part throughout the tournament. Very, very proactive, particularly in the mid game on those side lanes. They like to attack members, trying to pick up stray waves, things of that nature. And they just really picked on ZAMULEK in the bottom side and just the bottom lane in general. If members were down there, they were diving, sending multiple men to the plays. And this was the turning point. You said it was close until it wasn't. This was why Fnatic Rising tried to make a play onto Azir picking up a wave. And Illuminar, they commit the teleport first. It's them that's initiating this play. They're looking to try and turn it. And in all fairness, they do find Pride, but look at the top side. Chris and LeQu just isolated entirely. No frontline. It means ZAMULEK can't step up. It means Escik can't stand up. And quite frankly, your frontliners there with your Azir, with your Varus, you can't really do much. And this was the fight where it's like, for the first part, okay, maybe this is Illuminar breaking the tempo up, but look at the bottom side. Look at Pride making the approach. No one from Illuminar.
Like Jaws. And
even on top of it, just the True Shot barrage clipping through a couple of other members just adds to that level of burst. And it's a quadra kill. Even though Pride had two pretty unfortunate deaths prior to that play, makes it up entirely with one R press. As gold difference, like we said, it was close until it wasn't.
Yeah, honestly, it felt like, yes, Fnatic Rising were finding the small little advantages, but it just blew up out of nowhere. They got a fight around the Baron, that picked up the Baron, they were able to pick up a couple more kills, or a couple more, turrets, and then that last fight, we saw why there was such a priority on stopping this Kennen from flanking, because that's what Pride could do. They were aware that it could happen. They just weren't able to stop it for a third time. So for the side of Fnatic Rising, fantastic for them. Illuminar Gaming, they now have themselves at 2-2. They need to come back stronger later on in the series or later on in the day if they want to try and keep their hopes of a quarterfinals alive.
Yeah, and still have to play Big, and of course still have to play Z10. So, you know, Z10, I'm not going to say they're the free winners group, but that's, you know, it's their final game anyway, so they're going to know. If they haven't beaten Big, a lot on the table to have to deal with. Z10, a lot of nerves can start to come in. But Fnatic Rising, great win for them, and they're going to be playing again. So, you know, back-to-back momentum or coming off the win should potentially be a pretty big, you know, sort of positive bonus for them.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but I am being told we have got an interview with Big's head coach, Avendir. Are you there, Avendir?
Hello, hello.
Arvindir, excuse me, I am mispronouncing your name
fine.
so much, but obviously great win. Obviously to start off the day, you guys seem to be able to seem comfortable really with the win. And what were your initial thoughts coming into today? Was it very much a take these guys at initial value, or was it, you know, as we said from Jamada, a free win is a free win?
I mean, I think after first week we knew that we are like the only ones who can really beat ourselves. Like I think our draft versus Fnatic was really, really bad, and we still went out of this game like knowing we're the better team. So yeah, we just need to be prepared and not do mistakes, and then it's all in our own hands.
Yeah, and actually I want to pick up on that point because Fnatic Rising are going to be your final game of today. They've just picked up a win against Illuminar, and of course Fnatic now have to play Z10 after this interview and break, etc., etc. But looking towards that game, is that kind of the only thing you feel like you need going into that game? Is just the stable draft, and you still feel like you are the stronger team? And if it isn't just that, is there anything else you feel like you guys need to make sure you have ready by the end of the day to actually take them down?
I mean, yeah, I think it's mostly about draft. Like if we look at our 4 games we played now, I think we had one loss, which was bad draft, one bit shaky game, which was bad draft, and 2 very clear games, which were like even or better drafts. So I think that's like the main thing. We just go game to game, and yeah, hopefully our game versus Fnatic will be purely for first place. That would be nice.
So you were obviously the coach of Big back when they won the European Masters in 2019 summer. You guys are looking to repeat that success. Is there an added pressure having done it before? Or are you thinking, you know, I've been here before, I just need to keep my players calm?
I mean, I think this EU Masters is kind of special because I feel like this is going to be the first one where an org wins it twice. Like I'm almost 100% that one of Misfits K-Corp Rs takes it, and I really want to be the first org that wins it twice. So especially for me, there's like more on stake than it usually is. But yeah, I mean, we go game by game and don't really think about winning it all right now.
Take each draft as it comes, as you say. And looking towards obviously your next game, you're coming up against Luminar Gaming. Do you think that they had a bad draft going up for Fnatic Rising, or you still think there's a little bit left in the tank for them coming up against you guys?
I actually, and like I was watching with the players, we were all like saying this is a really good draft for Illuminar, especially like I think it was not a good for like for Fnatic's playstyle, but they played it well. And I'm also like, I don't know if you know, but we share office with Fnatic Academy, so yeah, pretty happy they won. Would be bad for the office mood, so yeah, let's hope they go through, we go through, and then we play them late today.
So I suppose then, in a way, you kind of want them to qualify with you, so everyone in the house is happy, right?
Yeah, exactly. We like when they played finals and we played finals, we were playing at the same time, and it was like we won 3-0 and they were 2-0 up, and then like the mood went down and down and down the office. So it was like a bit of a sad evening for us, even though we just won the title. So yeah, hope we don't have to kick them out today or they us. So yeah, they should just win against D10 and we should win against Illuminar, and then we can have a fun game for first place at the end.
Well, we do wish you the best of luck with the rest of your games. And of course, we'll be keeping a keen eye at exactly how far you guys can go. Thank you so much for joining us for this interview. And again, good luck with your rest of your games.
Thank you. See you guys.
All right. Well, that was a fantastic little interview there. As we, I'm curious to see now how they do. I want to see how far they can go. Like you said, they want to be the first organization to be able to pick up those 2 EU Masters wins.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like this big lineup could definitely do it. But, you know, like you said, other strong organizations, Misfits, Premier, and of course, Carmine Corp, other favorites for the trophy. And I think particularly, you know, qualifying first place, just so you make sure you avoid them in the quarters as well. Pretty big deal. But at the end of the day, you've probably got to beat most of the best teams to make it to the finals and take the whole thing anyway. But it's about making sure the sailing to the destination is as smooth as possible.
Yeah, honestly, you even look at, you know, but the teams that are in it. Misfits Premier, they've won it before. Go Rogue, they've won it before. And of course, Berlin and of course, Carmine Corp. We're going to send it to a break. And when we return, we'll be in for our 3rd match of the day as Fnatic take on Z10.
champions.